Michael Avery with Classic Business on Classic 1027.
Have you ever bought a knockoff thinking that the original brand probably deserves it because their prices are so high? Well, then consider this. That act alone means that legitimate companies face competitors in the market that steal their IP without paying taxes or complying with the regulations and the quality standards that those who do play by the rules have to. And that simple act has a domino effect on the broader economy and obviously negatively impacts potential further investment by companies who do play by the rules. We saw a recent global ICC business action to stop counterfeiting and piracy study estimate that in 2013 between $470 and $590 billion worth of genuine economic activity was displaced by counterfeiting worldwide. It's also estimated that by 2022, that total value of counterfeit and pirated goods will reach $2.8 trillion, more than the GDP of France, just to give you an idea of the scale of the problem. And increasingly, the rise of the internet and the lack of regulations has enabled digital savvy counterfeit to jump on the bandwagon and accumulate scale like never before. Well, I'm joined now by Paul Ramara, partner at Spur & Fisher, on this World Anti-Counterfeiting Day to find out what's being done to stop the scourge. Evening, Paul.
Hi.
Now, you've led a significant number of anti-counterfeiting campaigns for some leading luxury brands. How have things changed with the advent of social media?
Well, things have really changed drastically. The social media has changed the landscape. Look, social media is both an opportunity and a nightmare for brand holders. It's an opportunity because it has offered brand holders an opportunity to sell goods online, which is quite great. But in the same token, the counterfeiters are also using the same platform to sell counterfeit goods. And of course, because of the under-regulation of social media, counterfeiters are getting away with getting away with selling counterfeit goods online.
So what are we talking about here? It's obviously not the big guys. It's not your eBays and Amazons that are selling these counterfeit goods. It's the social networks. We find it increasingly on Instagram and Facebook. I see people selling all manner of things.
Most definitely. In fact, that's a big challenge now. You'll find that a counterfeiter could run multiple stores online on Instagram and Facebook using different identities. And when he's caught on the one store, he's happy to get that removed, but he still has other stores online to sell counterfeit goods.
Are you actually seeing a lot of these established brands actually going after the counterfeiters on social media? How are they responding?
Most definitely. Most of the big companies now have got online enforcement programs and teams in place to fight counterfeiting. And the way they go about it is counterfeit goods are offered on an online platform like Amazon or eBay. They will file a complaint directly with Amazon, and that particular store or website will be taken off.
But what about social media, where it's a lot more difficult to pursue an individual who can create an account under a pseudonym, and as soon as he knows the authorities are onto him or her, they just shut it down and come up under a new name?
That's the challenge. What can only be done thus far is we will obviously conduct investigation to try and get to the person that's operating the Instagram account. But ordinarily, we are always successful in closing that particular account. But getting to the real people that are running this Instagram account is very challenging because they could be anywhere in the world. They could be in America. They could be just about anywhere and, selling this kind of goods. So it is indeed a challenge because often, it's unscrupulous, faceless individuals who are behind this operation.
Yeah, it does leave one thinking that you're chasing your own tail here in this age of social media to try and bring these perpetrators to book. If you're a brand and you find that your mark is hijacked and it's used to produce some counterfeit products, what's the first thing that you should do?
Well, generally with this sort of matters, in South Africa, we sit in a very fortunate position in the sense that we've got a special legislation to deal with counterfeiting. Now, first thing first is to file what we call a custom recordal application with the South African Customs, which is a division of the South African Revenue Service. Once that application is approved, Customs will be your eyes and ears for anything coming into the country. In that way, whenever counterfeiters are bringing goods or importing goods into the country, they can be stopped at the port of entry by Customs. Of course, Customs cannot stop all goods from coming into the country. As you know, they also have a duty to facilitate trade and collect custom duties. And it's naturally just impossible to stop each and every container. We would then have the police who are responsible for open market enforcement.
And I know how difficult it can be. If you're a freight forwarder, having every second container stopped adds a huge cost to the service that you're trying to offer. So a very delicate balancing act that has to be conducted there. Paul Ramara, partner at Spur & Fisher, with how social media is making it increasingly difficult for brands to enforce their IP in this age of a real tsunami of counterfeit products. You're listening to Classic Business.